When we talk about careers ruined by injuries, I'm sure the first person you probably think of is Derrick Rose. And while his career is a big what if, you can also say the same thing about another guard that suffered a similar fate that not as many people talk about, and that's Brandon Roy. If you're new to the NBA, there's a good chance you may not even know who Brandon Roy is, and even if you do, you probably don't even know that much about him. But the people that have been following the NBA for a while know exactly who he is. Brandon Roy was a shooting guard for the Portland Trail Blazers from 2006 to 2011, and during that time, he was thought to be one of the best guards in the league, and had people convinced they were watching someone who was bound to become one of the greatest players ever. But for reasons that we'll get into later, that didn't turn out the way it was supposed to. But just know that he was one of the hardest players to guard in the NBA at that time. And if you don't want to take my word for it, then take Kobe's.
That's a bad boy. And, I think making it the second time just kind of solidifies yourself in terms of being one of the premier players in the league. Great voice, high IQ basketball player. Understands his size, understands his pace and tempo. I mean, he's ahead of his time.
And so today we're going to be talking about Brandon Roy's career, what caused it to derail, and what he might have become. But before we begin, if you're new here, I'm Double D. I'm a huge basketball fan and I make NBA videos here on YouTube. So if you're also an NBA fan, or just a basketball fan in general, feel free to hit the sub button and click the bell to be notified when I upload more videos just like this one. Also, according to YouTube analytics, around 86% of you guys that watch my videos are still not subscribed, so I'd really appreciate that. Alright, let's get into the video. Despite the things he accomplished in the NBA in such a short amount of time, it took a lot of effort for him to even get there. Because although some people thought he was good enough to make the transition straight from high school to the NBA, he decided to withdraw from the 2002 draft after consideration, and instead made the decision to go to college. But this is where things started to get really difficult for him. Because growing up, Brandon had a learning disability that affected his reading comprehension, which is a fundamental part of the SAT. And so he needed to be tutored constantly, and he took the exam 4 separate times before he finally met the NCAA requirements to attend college as an athlete. He did end up making it to college in 2002, as he would attend the University of Washington. He stayed for 3 years and considered entering the 2005 draft, but again decided against it as his teammates Nate Robinson and Martell Webster also decided to enter the draft. And he decided to stay 1 more year as an effort to improve his draft stock. And it would pay off, as he would lead the team to a 26-7 record in his senior year, and was then selected in 2006 with the 6th overall pick in the draft.
With the 6th pick in the 2006 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Brandon Roy from the University of Washington.
And from there, he went right to work by scoring 20 points in his first ever NBA game. But what also started the moment he came into the league was the constant injury problems that he would face for the rest of his career. After just his first 5 games in the league, he would suffer a heel injury that would keep him out 20 games. But he would eventually come back and go on to average 16.8 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 4 assists, and won the 2007 Rookie of the Year almost unanimously, with the one lone vote that didn't go to him going to Andrea Bargnani. Yeah. But anyway, Brandon Roy came into next season with another piece to the Blazers' rebuild essentially, as they would select Greg Oden with the 1st overall pick. Now, at the time, because we love to clown them for picking him over Kevin Durant because hindsight is always 20/20, but at the time, this wasn't a bad move by any means. We can just say it is now because of how things have turned out, but you can't really fault them for making that move. But that season, the Blazers' condition of cursed knees would begin with Greg Oden, as he would need to have microfracture surgery on his right knee and would miss the entire 2007-2008 season, leaving Brandon Roy essentially on his own, as LaMarcus Aldridge was really the only other significant talent on the team and he hadn't even broken out yet. But still, the Blazers were able to win 41 games led by Brandon Roy, who had a remarkably healthy season compared to the rest of his career. He played 74 games, and in those games he averaged 19.1 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 5.8 assists. And he was selected to his first All-Star game. And it is also worth noting that they actually won 13 games in a row that season. But like I said before, they only won 41 games, which wasn't good enough to make the playoffs. But on the other hand, Brandon Roy was quickly earning a reputation of being one of the toughest players to guard in the entire NBA. And over the next 2 seasons, that skill would be on full display. As in the 2008-2009 season, Greg Oden was back, and it was truly the first full season to feature the trio of Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, and LaMarcus Aldridge, which was expected to be able to make the team a title contender within the next few seasons. And they showed glimpses of that in this season. They won over 60% of their games where all 3 of them played, and finished that season with a record of 54-28, which was good for 4th in the Western Conference. But of course, this was also the season in which Brandon Roy had arguably his best season, and had the most iconic moment of his career.
At where he's trying to throw it. There's Blake to Roy. This is for the beat the Rockets in overtime.
And Roy, you're never out of it. As he just comes to the ball and elevates, gets his legs behind him, and follows through.
In this season, Brandon Roy averaged 22.6 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 5.1 assists, while shooting 48% from the field and 37% from 3. And he would make the All-NBA second team. Unfortunately, the Blazers would get beaten in the first round by an extremely tough Houston Rockets team led by Ron Artest and Yao Ming. But the next season would be the last we would see of Brandon Roy truly playing like Brandon Roy. The 2009-2010 season was the last full season he played before he started running into problems with his health, and was also the season where Kobe said what he said at the start of the video. It would be his last All-Star and All-NBA selection, and his last time in the playoffs. In this season, Brandon Roy averaged 21.5 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 4.7 assists, before being first rounded by a Phoenix Suns team led by Steve Nash. The 2010-2011 season is where he started running into a lot of problems with his health. He started out the season normally, but by the time he got to the new year, it was becoming very clear that this wasn't something that he was just gonna be able to keep up. Brandon Roy had struggled with knee problems since he was in college, but this time it was different. He had a severe lack of cartilage in his knees, which led many people to believe that he would probably never be able to play at the level that he once did. He eventually had surgery in January of 2011, and returned a month later but was clearly hindered by the condition, as he played less and less until he eventually started coming off the bench. In the offseason of 2011, it became very clear to Brandon that this was something that he simply had no control over and wasn't going to be able to overcome or play through. So he made the decision to retire from the NBA that offseason at just the age of 26. But he did try to work towards making a comeback sometime later. In the 2012 offseason, he made it clear that he had intentions to play again after having a procedure to help with his knees. He eventually signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves in July of 2012, and actually showed promise in training camp. However, in the 2012 preseason, Brandon Roy would suffer an injury after a collision during a game. He would go on to play in just 5 games that season before opting to get season-ending surgery on his right knee. After the season was over, the T-Wolves waived him, and that was the official end of Brandon Roy's NBA career, with him saying, "Anytime you walk away from the game, you have what ifs." I feel like I was able to answer those questions last year by going out there and giving it a try. Overall for his career, Brandon Roy averaged 18.8 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 4.7 assists, and played in just 326 games. However, he didn't completely give up on basketball, because as of today, he is the head coach of his alma mater, Garfield High School in Washington, and he's seen success with it as he won the National Coach of the Year in 2017. So his life after basketball has been successful, but it's difficult to talk about Brandon Roy without talking about those what-ifs, because this is a player that received praise from around the league for his play style and his talent. And given that he was only 25 years old when he started his extremely rapid decline, we can only imagine what he could have done in the league had he been healthy. But of course, we'll never know. But we'll always have these plays to remind us of what could have been. And it could have been great. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell to be notified when I upload, comment down below what you want to see next, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.